Hello and welcome back to a YouTube channel where we talk about everything and nothing at the same time. It is another unedited video of me talking about my life experiences. I am here to talk about my depression that I genuinely hope that I am over. That I genuinely hope that I have healed from, because morning. So let me give you a quick background story about me. My name is Mbali. We all know, ne? But I have three names. I have to explain to people all the time as to how do I say I have three names. My ID has three names. My first name being Rose, which everybody that I went to school with from primary until I think the first year, second year of varsity. So we could say for the first 20, not 20, you can say for the first 15 years of about 15 years of my life I was known as Urose, because it's my first name. Also putting into consideration in primary school and in high school, whenever they do the register, your first name is what they will call you. So if my first name was Mbali, then I would be Mbali. But my first name happens to be Rose, so Dingu Rose. Yes. And my second name is Palesa, and my last name is Mbali. I go by Mbali. Wherever I go, whenever I introduce myself, it's Mbali. So reason being, Mbali. My mom calls me Mbali, my dad calls me Mbali. And in that happening, I just thought Uba Rose was a school name. So anybody that met me when I was at school, I would just introduce myself as Rose. But everybody else that knows me outside of school knows Kuti I am Mbali. So I am Mbali. So quick story. I'll explain my name situation one day, and I will explain I'll explain my name situation on a different day. So here I am. I don't know which one it is. Simkile Slungu, but anyways, as a guys, what was I talking about? But anyways, let me try to remember. Okay, I'm explaining my names and my whole depression phase. Oh yes, my depression era phase that I hope I am over, because if I have to go back, it's a mess, guys. If I have to get depressed again, it's a mess. I have worked so hard to dig myself out of that grave, and I am praying that I'm officially out and I'm as far from that place as I can be. But anyways, quick backstory. I am a child that was born, and then my parents got married soon after I was born, lived with both my parents, and then when they split, I split with my mom. As you know, I left with my mom. I went to go live with my grandmother. That's how I grew up. A couple of years later, my mother remarried. Another story for another day. My mother remarried, and then she lived with her husband. And when she lived with her husband, that's when it all started. So let's put it like this. I've got two parents. I don't have biological siblings. I do have siblings, but they're not biological. I've got people I call I've got a sister, right? But biologically we are not sisters, but because we were raised by the same person in the same house, me and her are sisters. Me and him are brothers. So I've got brothers and I've got sisters because of that particular situation that fine. So here I am a child. My earliest memories are of me, my mom and dad living in the same house. Fine, my parents are there, we are all living in the same house. Then the fights start. Remember the fights? Got fuck all to do with the fights. The fights start, my mom decides that she's gonna go back home, she can't do with the shit. This is when they split. So when my mother leaves, I leave with her. That's also fine. I go to my grandmother's house. We go to my grandmother's house, we leave my dad in the matrimonial house. So my parents have a house together. And when my mom decided that she can't keep on, she can't stay married to this man, she left him in the house and she went back home. So when we go back home, my grandmother's house, couple of years, my mom gets into a committed relationship. She leaves to go live with her man. When my mom leaves to go live with her man, it's now my grandmother's house is kind of like a kaya for everyone, since my grandmother is the eldest, She's the eldest one left. So whoever felt like I needed a place to stay, we all go to my grandmother's house. It's that house. Kaya man. No, when people say Kaya, my grandmother's house, that's the house. So now here I am. There's one constant person in the years that I lived with my grandmother. There was one constant person who I consider my sister. Well, there's two actually. Now that I'm thinking about it, there's two constant people, my sister and my brother. These people are consistent in me living with my grandmother. So these people came and they never left. So I had my sister who's elder and my younger brother who's younger. My younger brother still had his parents and they're still alive till this day. My elder sister does not have parents anymore. They passed on a few years. Yeah, they passed on. Can't say names, bayazazi, but anyways, maybe one day I'll have the guts to speak about the dynamics about Endlini, but I'd have to ask for permission to name names. But anyways, here we are living with my grandmother, then my cousins come. Okay, fine, now it's like kids, there's so many kids. But now remember this, I lived about a year, if not 2 years of my life with my parents. And then we came back to my grandmother's house, and then we lived with my grandmother, me, my mom, my sister, and my grandmother. We lived together, and then my mom left. So now I'm a teenager. So this all happened. My parents got married before I started school, but by the time I was in primary, my parents had split. That's fine. So here I am, living with my grandmother, my sister, my brother, and my cousins. Now my grandmother's house, hi, man, everyone is welcome. I think at some point I lived in Otatumkhulu. But it's that type of house. At some point, everyone is welcome in my grandmother's house. It's still like that nanamhlanje. So yeah, my grandmother's house, I'm living there. I'm going to school with my younger brother. My younger brother and I go to the school in the same area. We both use, we went to school in the same area, so we'd use the same transports. I'm now a teenager, and as a teenager, you realize certain things. No, when I say you realize certain things, I look at my cousins when I go visit, or when I usually go visit my cousins from my dad's side. I go visit my cousin, and my cousin has her mom and her dad together in her life. I go to visit my paternal grandparents. They are still married. They are happy. I've got my grandfather and I've got my grandmother living in one house. Now this is starting to look odd. Odd in a sense that when I go to my paternal grandmother, it's just my grandmother. When I go to my paternal grandmother, it's my grandmother and my grandfather. So now I start noticing and I start picking up. Even with the friends that I have. The friends that I had at Lokshini, Ekasi, when I lived with my grandmother. One of my friends had the mother and the father present in her life. There was a difference between me and her. Whenever things didn't work out in her life, she'd be like, Nyamba ngitshela ubabam or ubabam ungilindile or ubabam usort this. Now, Kota does sort this thing out. Even when I go to school, some of my friends had both parents together. My dad this, my dad this. My mom this, my mom this. So eventually, it gets to me, okay, sharp. I know my dad. And then, I know my mom. But why are they not together? And to top it all up, why am I not living with them? I get the fact that they split. Shit happens. But why am I not living with either of them? That's when the abandonment issues started. I still have that issue. I still need to work on it. But anyways, abandonment starts. But I'm not even concerned. I'm just a girl in grade 10. Then, also again, trying my best not to name names. I had a group of friends. I'm still friends with some which just drifted apart. But one of my friends also had a situation where the mother and father split. But Diana being the part where her dad was not in her life, because as much as her parents split, her dad was still present in her life to a point that I knew her mother, I knew her father, and I knew her stepdad. Eva. So now it's getting to me, I've got a mother, I've got a stepdad, and I've got a father, but there's no father figure in my life. My stepdad does not have any kids. So for him to raise a girl, it's kind of difficult. So I'm basically still being raised by my grandmother and my mother. These are my parent figures, and they're both female. These are the strong, independent women that raised me to a point, you know what? There's nothing I can't do in life. I've got that mentality where there's nothing I cannot do for myself. Everything I can afford to do it for myself. There's nothing. And I said till this day that there's nothing I can't do for myself. There's nothing that a man can do for me that I cannot do for myself. So a man cannot come up to me and say, I'll buy you a car. Fashion, I can buy myself a car. A man cannot say, I can take you to this restaurant. Nah, but it's not going to work. I can take myself to a restaurant. So there's nothing a man can do that I cannot do for myself. That's the mentality I have because I was raised by two independent, strong women. Fine. Here I am. I'm in grade 11. I am fighting with my grandmother. I'm fighting with my grandmother because in an environment where my grandmother asks me a question, I respond, and then the whole situation goes to my mother, and now my mother is a different cup of tea, guys. If my mother says, kutheni wenza nje, wathi uyaphendula, kuthiwa uyadelela ungumntana, kutheni uphendula umuntu omdala. And then she continues with what she was saying, and then she comes back to you and asks you a question. Do you think what you're doing is right? And if you keep quiet, she's got another throwback answer to that. Dithatha nawe awuniphenduli. I grew up in a situation where rather you either respond to be told uba uphendula abantu abadala, or keep quiet and be told uba awusakwazi uthetha because uphendulile in the first place. But anyways, so now I'm at that point where music speaks to me, and most of the time I'm listening to music through headsets. My music taste is very, very, very diverse. Firstly, I listen to Eminem. There's an Eminem track for everything in my life. There's an Eminem love song. There's an Eminem song to when I'm feeling down and I need to lift me up, to when I'm too happy. There's an Eminem song for everything in my life. I even have an Eminem love song. I'm such a stan. Anyways, I'm a stan. Like that. Then one of my high school friends introduced me to Ikasi rap, and here I was going crazy over Usia Shezi. I was going crazy over GP Gangster, when Tizo, name them, the entire Deep Soweto people. I was going crazy. It's all I listened to. So it was either Eminem, these Kasi rappers, to a point that I even discovered Abanye where my grandmother lived, and I literally was like, damn, they also make good music. Bricks and Lyrics, but well, that's somebody I met before he became Bricks and Lyrics, and now he also makes good music. I also met Amishai, also with the music journey. There's so many people that I met when I was deep into Kasi rap. I followed it. It was my religion. To a point that even today, I still randomly have days where I listen to your Rev Tumza, I listen to your Mtizo, I listen to your Amishai Ngelosi, because that's my music. Those are the people that spoke to me, and I understood what they were saying at that time. And if I was not listening to Ikasi rap, that's when I also discovered Mathematics. Yeah, there's a guy from the Val called Mathematics. And then I forgot the guy from the East Rand, but there was also one from the East Rand, Bekula Nabo, Siashezi and Gipsovet, so I also forgot his name. But also, it was either Eminem, Kasi rap, Omna, I'd be listening to your Coldplay and your Pink and your 30 Seconds to Mars. I'd be listening to your Lady Gaga, to your Amy Winehouse. I still listen to everything else. I just added 2 more genres, and these people kind of like grew up after 2020. One day I'll make a conversation about my music genre and who I listen to. But anyways, so now I'm listening to these people, and I remember vividly one day my grandmother Otigum Devasi Zikia, and I'm like, okay, fine. Sia Shezi had the I'm a Slave song. Like, I'm scared to play it on YouTube. Next thing my video goes down and I don't have the energy to have this conversation all over again. But I'm listening to I'm a Liquor Slave by Sia Shezi Vasizik. I'm not aware what the song says. I'm literally singing out loud to what it says. But my grandmother keeps hearing me saying, I'm a slave, I'm a slave, I'm a slave. And I'm busy washing the dishes. And then my grandmother and I have this argument where, you know, the works. Literally, the works. Wow. And then, that's when my grandmother and I were no longer nje, sasingekho nje anymore, sasilwa ke ngoku. also remember, also put into consideration, I'm an asker. In order for me to ask to understand a lot of things, I have to ask and I have to do my own research, and it needs to make sense for me in my head in order for me to understand. So whenever they say I must do something, I would ask why. I am those why people, and please explain to me. But don't ever let me say please explain to me like I'm 5, because then it just fucked up everything, and I need you to understand that you fucked up on your own. But anyways, why so and my grandmother picks this up, my mother picks me this up, and everybody starts picking it up. And then every year my grandmother used to buy me uniform. She made sure I had shirts, pants, socks, shoes, bag. She made sure that anything that is school related, well, she still does it to this day. The last time I remember, well, it was a few years back when my cousin was still in school. Naya, we'd go, she'd buy him uniform. My grandmother would rather buy you uniform than to buy you Jewish or fancy clothes, as we said it when I grew up in school. But my grandmother still makes sure that whoever lives with her and needs uniform, she takes care of that. If your shoes are finished end of the year, she will go buy you new shoes. She will go buy you new shirts that fit you. She will buy you pants. She will buy you socks. Your parents, if your parents want you to wear a blazer, they have to buy you a blazer. She doesn't have a child. But anyways, my grandmother made sure that I had my necessity to look like a decent child in school, like everyone else. Fine. So, okay. In the school that I went to, I was caught in between asking and not asking. Asking so that I understand, not asking because endlini kuthiwa don't ask questions. Suthetha kakhulu because dilapha. Kuthiwa don't talk too much. But okay, in school I needed to talk too much in order for me to understand, until it got to a point where I would only ask in subjects I was interested in so that I could understand it more. In other than that, I wouldn't ask questions because one moves. So it got to a point where my grandmother and I were constantly fighting, to a point that I stopped talking and asking questions. But for me, it felt painful that I can't express myself. So I started cutting myself. No, I still remember the year, still remember the month. I may not remember the date exactly, but I remember what I remember. And in me remembering what I remember, I'm drinking. In me remembering what I remember, in me remembering what I remember that I decided one day, let me try to cut myself and see how it feels. I wasn't cutting myself because I wanted to end my life. I was cutting myself to let go of the pain. I was in pain. I was in so much pain that I couldn't explain it myself. I felt like other people have 2 parents. Why do I not have 2 parents? And at some point in my life, I blamed myself for why my parents split. Because if I was not part of their life, then they wouldn't have split. Ten years later, I now know, because I'm a better person, that I'm not the reason they broke up. It's got nothing to do with me. I'm a perfect child. But anyways, started cutting myself. I was in grade 11. It was February of that year. It was February of that year. Yeah. I'm in high school. I cut myself. I feel the rush. I feel the adrenaline. I feel the pain. And I love it. I absolutely love it. Not trying to kill myself. I'm just trying to let go of whatever pain I have internally through my cuts. So I would cut myself and see the blood, and then I'd start feeling better. That was my coping mechanism. My best friend at that time, also can't name names, saw this. She was pissed off. She was so upset because she didn't understand. But then eventually my friends kind of understood, because I had never said I wanted to kill myself or life would be better if I was dead or anything like that. They kind of understood. My friends mainly understood that I was not doing this because I wanted to kill myself, but it was a coping mechanism because of the situation at home. Because I was not a drinker. I'm not a smoker. I wasn't a smoker. I didn't do drugs. I still don't, even today. But it was one of those things where they kind of saw, Oba, this is my coping mechanism. They were already drinking. I was not drinking. They already had boyfriends. Bendinayo, but it was a school thing. As soon as he gets on his transport, like, I'm only going to see him next week Monday. But anyways, the guy that I was with that year was very patient with me. He was such a lovely guy. But one day I can talk about his experience now. But anyways, I started cutting myself. Now it became a weekly thing, maybe twice a week, once a week. Eventually, my mom was like, nah, I'm a mess. My grandmother can't take care of me. She'll take care of me herself. I moved in with my mom and my stepdad, and things got worse. Gym law, I'm moving in. I'm thinking my mom is now going to give me attention. The bad woman give me attention because her life continued like normal. She'd literally wake up in the morning, go to work, come back. She'd cook, pack up her lunch, and go to her room and sleep. My family is early sleepers. My grandmother tells you I'm in bed at 6, she's out by 8. My mother is in bed by 7, she's out by 9. So we sleep early. Nami, hey guys, getting to 10 o'clock is a problem. But anyways, that's what happened. Comes back, cooks. Next thing it's 7. She wants to rest so that she can be out by 9 because she goes to work early. Hey, hi guys. Yaqala phansi depression yomntana. Now I start like I've got no contact with my dad. He's AWOL. He does it a lot. Well, he used to do it a lot. Now, yeah, it's another story for another day. My mom does not pay attention to me. My stepdad also comes back home after 9, so he also comes back and he's out. So I'm literally alone raising myself. Guys, kwakunzima. Why do I have to be in this world where people don't care about me? School-wise, my mom makes sure if I'm struggling with a subject, I've got extra lessons for that subject. I transport young landa every day. I've got money yokudla eskoleni every day. And if I want to make lunch, I'm allowed to make lunch. There's polony, there's cheese, there's everything I need in the fridge. The fridge is full, the house is clean, the house is looking nice. Everything made sense but my emotional well-being. Yani nanditi, my emotional well-being was yayiteka yayenza nje i-well-being yami. You know, for 5 years, I was a cutter. To a point that by the time I was in matric, I had learned how to cover my wrists to a point that nobody could see them. Nobody could see my wrists. Nobody knew about how bad was my left wrist. I don't think it's still visible. Oh, it's still visible. Oh, but well, how am I going to do this? But anyways, yeah. So it was worse than this because it was a weekly thing. I remember there was one birthday. It was so bad. So bad. I didn't receive any gifts. Nobody didn't have a boyfriend. Or if I did, he didn't really wish me a happy birthday. It was so bad. And you know how girls are with their birthdays. That the following day, I woke up, I cut my wrist, I sat in the bathtub hoping to die. But it didn't happen. I woke up, I took all the pills in the house. I was shaking. But you're not going anywhere. You're going to love Sanalam. Couple of years later, I'm still alive. I am still alive. But that was the first birthday I spent in my mother's house with her husband. And I still felt neglected. I felt neglected to a point where my mother didn't know anything about my life outside that she's going to school, and if she doesn't pass, which means she's not paying attention to what she's doing. Not knowing that my attention span is extremely short because I've got so much happening in my mind that I cannot concentrate for long. Still got that problem, but we're working on it. Till this day, I've got 5 tabs open in my head all the time. I can never think about one thing for more than 5 minutes and be like, okay, I can figure this thing out. My mind wanders so much. It wanders so much, and I'm making this video right now talking about my depression, but I'm already thinking about other things. But again, that depressed for those 5 years, cutting myself every week, every day. Some days life would be better, some days it would be shit worse, and I'd be like, why can't I fucking die? There were days where it was so bad that I started cutting vertically instead of horizontally, but still I wouldn't die. My mother saw them. Well, according to her, Uti, she saw them once in 5 years and years. But I never got counseling. I never got therapy for my depression. I ended up pulling myself out of that grave that I had built for myself, and that let me be a better person. Let me see what the future holds for me. And there are days, I won't lie, there are days where I feel like, you know what, if I would cut myself, I would actually feel better, but I'm doing my best not to do it. It's also been about 5 years since my last cut. I may be wrong. I can say it. I can positively say it's been 5 years since my last cut. I may have cut myself once, twice after that solid 5 years of cutting every month, every week, every day. Sometimes days were not the same, but I can confidently say that in the past 5 years, I have not cut myself. I was so depressed to a point that it was not suicidal. The suicidal thoughts would come and go, but I was mainly depressed to a point that I would sometimes get so high on meds. I would take all the meds in the house and get so high, and it just so that I can pass out and forget the pain I'm in. It was painful ukuthi uhlala nomzali but umzali akakunaki. My mother never gave me the emotional support that I needed. Well, people have the best relationships with their mothers. Nah. When I lived with her, it was the worst. Every day I would dream about the day I left home, because home was so painful. Home did not have pleasant memories. I've got more painful memories of the things she said to me and how I was treated over memories of the best days of my life. I think the best days of my life don't really include my mother that much. I am the only child, so it really honestly puzzled me as to why would you treat me like this. I felt I'm being treated like andiyonto. I could never be worthy of anything because I never got the treatment that I knew I deserved. Assaults. Hello? Hi. Isasekhona. Okay, sure. But anyways, it was so bad that there would be times where bendibuya esikolweni and I'd go to my room and just close the door and just pray to sleep so that I can wake up tomorrow and leave. It was so bad that it taught me so much about myself. Even now I know, but whenever I'm going through whatever I'm going through, I don't drink alcohol. I don't do drugs, so I'm not gonna, but I don't drink. Whenever kunyiwa, abona xathiwa kumanzi phansi, kyanyiwa, I don't indulge in alcohol. Because I know myself and I know how I am, that it would get to a point that I'd probably die of alcohol poisoning. Because if things are bad, then I need to face them in my sober state with my 15 tabs open. Because if I try to mask it with alcohol, then it's going to be one tab open and that tab is going to tell me, drink. Drink. I might die of alcohol poisoning. I might end up telling people things that I do not want them to hear at that point, but it would be so bad that I think that people would stop talking to me because I'm going through such a particular thing, and I decided that alcohol would help me since I'm not a smoker. But if I were a smoker, I'd probably smoke myself and drink myself to death. So that period in my life when I was so depressed, no alcohol, I was just digging myself out of that grave It was all sober thoughts. It was all sober thoughts. But okay, it's something I'm grateful for. Now I know uba when things don't come together, I'm not going to drink. When things don't come together, I'm not going to drink. Because what's the point of drinking? I need to find a solution to the problem I have right now. With my 15 tabs open, one of them will be open and will have the answer. While if I drink alcohol, I'm gonna close 5 and still be open to 10. Or I'll close 10 and I'll still be open to 5, and only discover that of that 5, one of them just says drink yourself to death, and I will not even realize how bad it is. So as much as being depressed is a bad thing, I think I've learned to accept myself for who I am. And sadly, when I'm going through anything, there'll be times where I don't drink for a couple of days because I'm trying to figure some shit out. I'm not an alcoholic. I can go days without drinking by choice when I'm not going through anything. But what I've realized is, had I not gone through my depression phase where I literally went through the entire phase sober, I was not a drinker. I started drinking well into drinking age in the world. If the highest drinking age is 21, then I started drinking, not even at 21, I probably started drinking maybe at 23, 24. Yeah, so I started drinking when I knew I could go buy myself alcohol. So it kind of helped me, and it built the character that I am, to a point that when I currently know that when it's time for me to face my problems, I face them as they are, without any alcohol, without any substance to help me get through whatever it is that I'm going through. And I'm honestly grateful. I would have loved to have a better relationship with my mom back then. I would have loved I would have loved if my mother had taken me to therapy when I was showing signs of depression. It would have been better. I would have been a better person today. But well, then shit happens. And all black people, all colored people, I cannot speak for the Indians, but all black people, all colored people, we all need therapy. We've been through a lot. If you don't need therapy, it means that your parents did a better job raising you than most of our parents. But about 80% of colored and black people need therapy. And I hope that one day we all receive it so that we heal our inner children. Because our inner children are the ones that are most hurt, to a point that it goes into your adulthood. And when you do something, don't forget to do it for your inner child. I do a lot of things for my inner child. I am now I'm now that person that will not deny myself anything that I know that would make me happy. I think right now, if I was a Barbie girl doll, I would have bought myself a Barbie doll and said, this is for my inner child. But my inner child was not into Barbie dolls. But at this point, my inner child was into cars. And there's one specific car that I want to buy for myself. And once I have that car, I'll come back and I'll say that my inner child is dancing. She's dancing to the beat of her ancestors, singing to her, Uba, baby girl, you saw this car. You wanted this car. And we made sure that you got this car. So it's one of those things, Uba, when you're depressed, you discover yourself. If you don't lose yourself, those that lose themselves actually take their lives. But those that make it through depression, whether by themselves, whether with the help of a therapist, the help of a counselor, the help of parents, those that got help, I'm happy for y'all that y'all got help. But those that made it through without any help, Jengam, I am proud of us. Oba, you pulled it through. Does not make sense. Your situation didn't make sense. It didn't say, nothing in your life said, I'm worth living. Excuse me. But you made sure that you loved. So I am extremely, extremely proud of people that have made it through depression one way or another. And those that are struggling with it, I hope you make it through. Nami, I'm still struggling with it from time to time. I won't lie, from time to time I've got so bad suicidal thoughts. If anybody knew, they'd be like, you don't deserve to be alone. But yeah. but it is what it is. Life is what you make out of it. But still saying, but I am proud of whoever realizes that they're depressed and they still want to love. And those that feel depressed and feel like it's too much to bear, this life is too much to bear. I understand. I understand. And you are stronger than that. Those that want to take their lives, it's also understandable because it's not an easy life to live. There's so much pressure. There is so much pressure. And as a gullible person, not really gullible in a bad way that you are softy, but put yourself in a place where if something is too much for you, say it. If something is too much for you, cut it out. If you feel like life is too hard for you, but if yazibulala nakhona soze siyixheke, will respect your decision uba it was too much for you to handle. And that is also understandable. You know, the same way people say, if you don't want kids, it's understandable. It's your decision to make. I feel like it's your decision and you can do whatever you want. I don't feel like you're a weak person. You have carried your burden however you felt best, and now if you feel like this is your finishing point, then that does be your finishing point. And bear in mind that we all have different finishing points to head to. So whoever has suffered from depression, whoever is suffering from depression, I say I am proud of you for making it this fine life. Whether it's been a 2-year journey, a 2-month journey, a month's journey, a 15-year journey, a 10-year journey, or your journey, it was like mine, it was like a solid 5 years, then it was a couple of years where it would come and go. I still have those years where it comes and goes. So now I could say I'm well into 10 plus years journey of depression. Because if I never had suicidal thoughts in the past year, then I would say I'm officially over it. But because I still have my suicidal thoughts, it's a different story. And those that have multiple mental disorders, I'm also proud of you for making it through. Bear in mind that I've got depression. Well, I've had depression and I've also had anxiety. They never happen concurrently. And maybe I may have a multiple personality disorder, multiple personality disorder, because I know when this happened, this is the Mbali that comes through. When this happened, this is Rose that comes through. When this happens, this is Palesa that comes through. When this happens, this is me, Core, coming through. So I am proud of whoever gets through whatever mental condition they have. And when it gets hard, just remember, you're not alone. Find us. We're here to help. There's a couple of platforms that will help you, but kunzima, guys. Kunzima in life. Kunzima. It's not easy. This life is not meant to be easy. With all the money and all the glamour, there's still something that will remind you, I can't be perfect. Nothing is perfect in this world. And if you do find the perfect moment, savor it and enjoy it. And just like that, Dizoti. I forgot again, too many tabs open. Again, my unedited video. Please like and subscribe. Thank you.